Hey friends, welcome back to today's episode. I am so excited to have a friend of mine, Angie Lee, on the podcast today. If you don't know Angie, she is a very well-known influencer, content creator, serial entrepreneur. She's super, super impressive. I think she's 32, or she's in her early 30s, and she has been at this for a really, really long time. She's one of those that started young out of college, I think 18, 19 years old, starting to create content. And she's really a way shower in the world of online marketing. The cool thing is that even though she is an absolute expert at online marketing, she is so real. She is so authentic. She is so willing to be herself. And we go deep in this conversation. We go deep and we also keep it light. So one of the things I also love about her is that she's a comedian. She's funny. She keeps it light. She talks about poop jokes, and I think one of her taglines, like she's like, baby grandma. She like goes to bed early. And anyways, she's starting to write a book called Ready is a Lie. And I'll tell you, we've had some offline conversations over the last couple of months, and she's the real deal. She is the real deal. And meaning there's, a lot of stuff online that's not really what you see. And I can tell you without a doubt that Angie keeps it real. It's a big value of hers. And she's really she's got a big heart. So she's like the girl next door. She's your friend. She's really funny. This podcast is very high energy. And one of her companies that has just exploded in the last couple of years is one that's called Soul CBD. And we talk about today the benefits. We talk about the differences of THC versus CBD. We talk about we go deep, we talk about CBD and her company. And then we're also talking about authenticity, vulnerability. She gives some marketing tips on how to be yourself and how to be weird, and really just coming from the right place, which I know all of you are. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you will absolutely get something out of this episode. Like always, if you like this, please help us share it by doing a screenshot and sharing it on your social media. If you're on Instagram, you can tag at Angie Lee, as well as myself at Heidi Stevens. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi friends, it's Heidi Stevens here. Welcome to Drop Into the Vortex, where conversations about upleveling your frequency, reaching your next level, feeling alive, and manifesting with more ease are happening. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I am a spiritual teacher and leader, and I am here juggling all the hats right along with you, creating our next level life and showing you how to do it on the way. Welcome, let's go. What's on your heart these days? Like what's like just kind of like up for you, and like where are you?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it all kind of goes in with the cancel culture in a sense too, because I think it was one of the greatest gifts to get me to wake up to like, do I really even want to be in this industry that I was in? I was just like, why was I pretending I wanted to be in this industry? So for me, I'm really pursuing comedy as a job now. Like, what would that look like to be paid to do it, script write, work with brands, start stand up, all that stuff. So to me, this new evolution of me is expressing that part of myself that I think I always knew, but it was suppressing. And then also still figuring out, okay, how does Ready as a Lie tie in? And then writing Ready as a Lie, and then Own Your Weird, where that will go. So I don't know. I'm in this interesting space where I know I want to be in personal development, but I don't want to be in it. So I'm trying to find a way to dance with that.
I experience you as, and you wrote this in something, right? It's like, you're just like, be authentic, like be yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you and I originally started talking, we've known each other through different groups, but you and I originally started kind of deepening in this whole cancel culture. And even as I was like reading your like, and I know you enough to know like you are authentic and you are so real. And that's what I think everyone loves about you so much. And how do you do that when you've gone through a pretty traumatic experience of
Yeah.
being quote unquote canceled. And then I want to kind of backtrack and get into that story.
Yeah, I'm an open book. It's been about 2 years now, so I'm able to come from a place where I can process it and laugh at it a bit because it is humorous almost. And the comedian in me wants to emphasize that because this is my experience. I love how you say that. That's very beautiful. My experience is that cancel culture is hilarious. It's a joke. What are we even doing? Like what does that mean to cancel something? Like everybody right now who's trying to cancel Dave Chappelle. You guys, he's literally one of the most talented, one of the most wealthy, and one of the best comedians that we will ever experience. He's uncancelable. You can't cancel him. He's going to keep doing what he does. And if you watch the documentary closely, you'll notice that he actually, it's not what they think, right? It's people who've never actually consumed the content or really gotten to know that person. And that's the irony of cancel culture. So experiencing backlash on the internet, I think is never easy. It was extremely interesting to process because when you sign up for this job of sharing your life, you're not trained to deal with that. You don't know essentially what to do. You don't really have the tools. And so now I feel like I'm in a place where, because the pendulum has swung so far, where people have just been people don't have the ability to say what they want to say or to mess up or to think different. It's almost like I feel like it went so one side of the pendulum that now the good news is it's like, you better just be you on the internet, because honestly, whatever you say, you're going to get somebody who doesn't like it. I mean, now with creating satirical comedy, I had a video where I was doing a funny makeup tutorial and some girls like, oh my gosh, this is, offensive, or this is not female empowerment. And I'm like, the irony is it actually is. Comedy is one of the most healing modalities we have to process and to teach and to just bring people joy. And it's called self-deprecation. And if I have to explain that to someone, you're probably not my person for my audience, So I think I've built some real courage recently since it. I'm like, you know what? I know I'm talented. I know I'm funny. I know I'm great at script writing, and I'm going to do it. And the 99% who get it, they get it. And the 1% who don't, well, I'm realizing that's kind of awesome, because I'd rather do that than be so boring that everybody likes me. Like I do not want to be, one of those fluffy little cute personal development accounts that's like posting motivational quotes. I'm like, go get it, girl. I'm just like, oh, I'd rather puke in a bowl at this point. That's me. I'm very allergic to that. So for me, I'm like, if I want to be a little different, if I want to be weird, then I have to actually own that and realize that that is going to come with people who do not get it or don't like it for some reason. And I will never be able to know that reason. And that's not my job. So it's been a lot of work of releasing that and really asking myself, if I want to step more into comedy or really sharing about authenticity, that requires that I have the courage to be disliked. And that's been the hardest part of my job. That is the hardest part of what I do, is having the courage
to be disliked.
Yeah.
You never signed up for that when you were an 18-year-old,
No.
like hustling, like, like doing your thing and figuring out online marketing. Were you ever like,
no,
oh my gosh?
No, I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. I was just sharing my life and sharing wellness tips and sharing motivational stuff. And I was just growing up on the internet in a sense. I started this when I was 19. I'm now 31. So I know what it's like to get, you suck, or this is ugly, or blah, blah, blah. I've gotten stuff like that, but it has severities to it. But no one trains you for it. And the definition of trauma is fast, sudden, and unexpected. And that's exactly what happened when I received an immense amount of backlash in one moment, in one day. And so, of course, my central nervous system wasn't able to process it. And you just came from an experience where I'm sure you talked about the central nervous system and trauma and processing, which is why I would like to go to Joe Dispenza. But I really need to do now, as cheesy as that is to say, I need to do almost like the visceral somatic work now to release it and to know that this is okay. It's okay to be disliked. It doesn't mean I'm going to die. It doesn't mean, I'm a bad person. It's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay to be misunderstood. And that's really hard when, you wake up to a hate video and someone who's never met you in their life, who claims they know everything about you and everything you've ever thought. And it's just the weirdest thing if you actually think about it. Right. So even me now on the internet, I realize when I start to think like, oh, I don't like that post or that thing, I don't go do anything about it because I have self-control, right? But if I want to, I stop now and think to myself, I don't know her whole story, or I don't know that guy's whole story. So who am I to think, because of that one little thing that I think that I know, where I should hate them? It's silly, it's silly.
It's such a good, it's such a great perspective. And I know you've done a lot of work to come this far. Why do you say, when you say to do somatic, kind of more like energetic work, why do you start with like, I know this sounds cheesy?
Because I really feel like I don't know, my perspective, a lot of my work now is making fun of the PD space in a sense.
Yeah.
Which if you've seen like JP Sears or a lot of people who do satirical comedy, it's, I was a life coach, I was a coach, I am an influencer. So of course making fun of it is what makes it self-deprecation. But because I think a lot of it's gone so far that it's a lot of fakeness. It's a lot of fakeness. There's only a few legit left and I can feel it and see it. I don't have a lot of superpowers, but one of mine is genuineness. And I can feel if something's bullshit. I can feel if a girl is just like doing it to be trendy and like, ooh, I don't know. I live in Los Angeles. Like, of course I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the holding space, authenticity. If I hear it one more time, I'm going to puke because it's like, listen, I'm just saying it like it is on this show. Of course, there's realness. There's real women in it. Of course, just like any industry, there's fake and there's real, but there's a lot of it that is based on ego and trying to look cool and trendy. And I lived with it. I saw it. And I just like, I just can't anymore.
Okay. So this is so beautiful. And
that is my unfiltered answer to that.
Oh my God. That's all I want is you unfiltered on here, right? Absolutely.
I know. I'm like, oh shit, who's going to listen to this?
That's what we all want. So as somebody that I am the real deal, right?
Yeah.
And I have done the work and walked the walk and done the things. And it's like, I love it and I can laugh at it too. And I also see so many women, whether they're like my very dear friends of mine or people that come through my programs that are the real deal and that are so genuine. And I get twinges of this of like, oh, like, am I just going to be one of those people, right? That's like saying the same shit and like doing the same thing and talking about breath work and all the stuff. And so my question for you as like, you're like such a good marketer, expert marketer, is like, how do we really honor, like, if that really is you, one and all of the noise, how do you really honor your truth, that is actually true for you, and show up in the online space when there is so much noise and marketing and making things look a certain way? And just watching your Insta story and you're like everybody, like, what'd you say? You said, nothing that glitters is gold. Like when you meet that person, you'll know, It's like
I love sharing this story because most of my audience is like similar to me in that they're from the Midwest and they're like, what was LA like? And I'm like, it was such a healthy experience for me to see and almost break the veil of like, oh, that girl also has toe fungus. Oh, that girl isn't a supermodel. Oh, like, it's weird. Because then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what is real then? If I had this perception of these people are perfect or whatever, like what is even real? And then you meet half the life coaches and they need to get their lives together, right? You're like, why are you? So it's just funny. I think one, a sense of, I think what's the word I'm looking for? A sign that you have there's healthy ego. Obviously you need a healthy ego body. A sign of healthy ego, I think, is that you can make fun of it. So I love that you can watch it and be like, oh my God, this is funny. This is what I do. I did a video on spiritual coaches and it was like using the word holding space and how that everybody in your bio has conscious coach, like as opposed to unconscious, like what the frick is going on, And so I told Clay, I was like, God, I love that I woke up to like hundreds of comments from life coaches that were like, this is so funny. It's me. And I was like, wow, they must have such a healthy sense of self. Like I'm an influencer. I am that girl that's like, you got to buy this product, yet I can make fun of it because it's ridiculous. So I think one, being able to find the humor in life in this experience that is so short and crazy and we can't really explain what's going on. I think finding the humor in that is so powerful. And then two, like you said, knowing that, I think intention's everything. So if you can go to bed at night knowing like, hey, this is actually me. I do believe in this. I do practice this. I do live this. There's integrity in this, then that is real. You are actually who you are online and offline. That is really important to me. And so if that's a rarity, you stand out by already just being actually integrous. And I think people can feel that. They can feel it in your voice. They can feel it in your tone, whether it's a podcast or a video or Instagram. They can feel if it's BS and you're doing it to be trendy and you're posting the typical photo and quote that everybody does in that niche or whatever it is, health, wellness, spirituality, or you genuinely are just sharing what you wanted to share. So a lot of it, I think, is tuning out the noise and asking yourself, if you weren't trying to be like the cool girl in that niche, what would you post or what would you say? But I think what happens, like anything, is I did this in fitness. I was like, oh, well, the cool girl is posting that, so maybe I should post that and say that. So I think we start to mimic people, which we've been doing since we were kids. But what's really healthy to do is say, what would I post? What would I share? And I think that's what helped me in this space where when I came into it, there's a lot of like very serious marketers. And so I felt really weird because I was like, oh my God, I don't want my sales page videos to be professional. I don't want my videos to be, and I want to use poop jokes. And what if I just did that? And I was terrified to, but once I did, what was interesting, immediately the brand grew and everything blew up. Like literally, I can remember the email where I was like making poop jokes and I was like, send, I don't care. Like I'd rather be me than fake it. And I got responses right away from people that were like, wow, you've shown me that you can be funny and weird, as I use the word weird, which can mean, different things for different people, but you can be weird and be successful. You can be weird and be really smart. Like you don't have to choose. And for so long, all I saw modeled to me were these women teaching marketing who were extremely polished and everything was perfect. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And so I think same thing with spirituality. I would love to see more spiritual coaches making fun of some of it and being like, hey, you can be weird and quirky and silly and witty or whatever. And also hold the truth that spirituality is needed and necessary. So I think what's coming through for me is duality. I'm very into the season for my life right now is range, like showing people that like, I have a very serious deep side and I have a very freaking weird 4-year-old side. So I think there's like showing people that range and being okay with that, where I've been afraid to show people that. And I think that's part of the reason why the canceling quote unquote happened, is because their expectation of me was one linear, one-dimensional girl that they had followed, who was perfect and sweet and da 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 da. And then I'm like, yo, actually, I do swear, I do use poop jokes. This is how I think maybe about politics, or like they were able to, they didn't expect range from me. And so I'm like, maybe I should just show that more. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's so powerful. So I've like, there's so many directions I want to go right now. But for the woman that's listening and going, yep, Angie, like I do feel that. And I, it's like really like resonating with what you're saying right now. And they're sitting there going, how do I even find my voice? How do I even, just share some like basic like marketing tips of like, how does somebody find their voice when they're worried about what their husband is going to think or what their mom is going to think? And it's really vulnerable to go online and share. And it does take so much courage. So for all the like people starting out, like what do you tell them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there is this level of a few things. One, having the courage to be a leader or to pave your own path means you're accepting a life of criticism in a sense. You just are. There's not one leader that I know in this world, and I'm sure same for you, that also isn't quote unquote hated by some people or disliked by some people.
Yeah.
And the irony is no matter what you do, you're going to get shit, right? It's funny. It's like if you're successful, you get people from your hometown or family and friends saying, what are you doing? You're being different. I don't like that. You're being, I call, different weird. Like you're being weird. Why don't you just follow in line, get the safe job? Why are you trying to be an entrepreneur, or why are you posting this stuff? But then if you were lazy and sat on your couch and did nothing, they'd be like, why don't you go do something with your life? Why don't you go try something? So either way, you can't win. And then also, I like to say, your copy on the internet, whether this is emails, social media, podcasts, YouTube, Instagram stories, speak as if you're talking to your best girlfriend who you feel very close with and you feel like who gives you unconditional love. Like think of that friend in your life. Hopefully we all have at least one girlfriend or guy friend that we can call that, no matter what I say, I'm just like, hey, I have fungus on my toes and I'm going to quit and work at the zoo. And my girlfriend would be like, you know what? I love you. You're great. Like everyone needs that. Maybe it's your husband, your wife, whatever, one of your kids. I feel like everybody at least has that one person that they could just talk to. And I think that's the person you should be with your audience. And that's always been my intention, is I'm their friend who happens to maybe have a tip or two or be maybe a step ahead of them. But my goal has never really been I'm above you or leadership. It's always been, hey, I'm your good friend that you can talk to, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be unfiltered. So that's how I think people should be. That's how I think their story should sound. It shouldn't sound super scripted. It should sound like you're just FaceTiming a friend. I call it the FaceTime effect. And then copy on the internet. When I think of Instagram posts, I now type it as if I was texting a good friend, because that's the voice. It's a conversational voice. And I think now in 2021, what you'll notice is there's going to be this trend with marketing that people want raw, real, unedited, conversational. They don't want super professional ads. We've even seen this with Soul, our super professional ones where we paid a ton of money and we got actors and models and made it all fancy schmancy. They do good, but you know what does really well are the ones where I'm just face to camera and I'm like, you need this. You need this in your life. Like you need these gummies, right? And it's so interesting because I'm like, that was free. That was literally, that cost me nothing. That's crazy. Yeah. And it just shows that people right now, we're in a season where, going back to pendulum swinging, it went so fake and so polished and so edited with marketing that now people are craving realness. They're craving an Instagram story to sell your program. They don't want a 10-page sales page anymore. They don't want, people are smarter. The consumer's smarter. So my whole thing is, how can we just come back to being as genuine and authentic and unscripted as possible? Because I think that imperfection is what people are actually attracted to.
This is like such good news, right? Like it makes me so happy because it's like, as I've never been an online marketer, like, and it's like, I'm always like, it's so weird to like try and write this like scrolling sales page that's selling them as they go down the page. I'm like, it makes my head go crazy. I'm like, can't I just like be me and let them feel my energy and let them like know who I am and be like, yeah, I want to be around that person. I want to. You know?
Yeah. Well, and there's like these 15-step processes and follow this step and go in this order and follow this exact template. My whole thing is, if you don't follow the template that you're supposed to follow in the internet marketing world, you actually stand out because everybody else is following that specific template, the 9-step template for your next email in order to get them to buy. It's like, people are people. We have heartbeats. We're not robots.
Gross. Totally. Which is why, whether it's the work that you're doing, you know, in your personal development space, and we can, you know, or like the work that I'm doing in Magnetic or the different programs, it's like, it is all about shedding the layers of all these identities and all of these beliefs that we've just taken on to survive. We're like, well, we need to be this person to get love, and we need this person to get money, and we need this person to, you know, be the good mom in the preschool line. And it's like, F that. Like, it is just like, so like, why not just give yourself permission to be yourself? But it's like one of those things that's just so much easier to say than do.
Oh yeah.
And like the peeling back is really, you know, it's like, what do I like, how do I want to feel when I go to bed at night? How do I want to feel when I like lay my head down? Like, I want to know that I honored my truth. And so let's circle this back around to the like cancel culture. And then we're going to talk about Angie's incredible company, Soul CBD. But the cancel culture of, you know, I think you and I talked about this offline. This online movement of, we don't need to name names or anything, but it's like certain political parties and like certain belief systems and certain ways of being that you fall in line if you are kind of accepted, if you're cool, if you're, you know, enlightened. Yeah. And I think that we are in a time that I believe that people that are on, I'm just going to use my own languaging here, like on like spiritual journeys and their own personal development path, are questioning, wait, do I have to believe all of those things? Do I have to fall in line? And as I'm, you know, I do consider myself a leader. You are a leader. Like, you know, it's like, okay, what do I say and what do I not say? Because you do need to catch people where they are. You do need to meet them where they're at in order for them to like see you and hear you. And so it is such a fine line. It is such a fine line. And so I just wonder for you, like, you know, what's your own, when you like, how do you like navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, God, so many thoughts on it. I feel like one, for anybody listening, it's almost like we get to have the permission slip to not have to share all of our beliefs on the internet. We don't owe anyone that at all, actually. Some of the people that I follow that I really look up to, they have not mentioned once how they feel on certain things. And I love that. And I think that she's being brilliant in that aspect. And she has every right to not have to, because guess what? This is the internet. It's a matrix. It's a false world. You don't have to share every single good deed you're doing on the internet in order to show your virtue signaling. That's my biggest issue is, if you're doing it, you're doing it. but it's like the people who, you know, they give back to charities just so they could post about it. Like, it's a little weird, right? So I think that there's this level of what's sincere. Again, I'm just allergic to insincerity. So for me, that's what I don't like that came up. I felt like 98% of the people that were sharing certain things or still are, I question the sincerity behind it. I question, do you actually believe in that? Do you actually know what's going on? Do you research it? Or are you just doing it to fit in? Because ultimately, like this entire conversation is about, we as humans just want to fit in. We want to be seen and we want to fit in. That's it. We just want those two things more than anything in the world. So once you realize we're all just these kids who just want to be seen and heard and fit in, then of course you're going to do what the crowd is doing, because if you don't, you'll be killed, you'll be ostracized. So for me, I think I'm finding the dance of like being proud of some of my things that I believe in, such as freedom and medical freedom and things like that, that I have no shame around. And also realizing that I have space and availability for, I have tons of friends and people who think differently, and that's cool too. Right. And that's the beauty of freedom, is you get to kind of choose what you want to do. And so I think the irony is, it's weird that we've gotten to a point where, I mean, talk about marketing, the media did a really good job. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It divided us. It literally put us into option A or B, when there's not just two options, guys. Like, there's actually nuance. There's in the middle. There's a lot of, there's people, when you actually go out and meet people, you realize people are on the spectrum. Nobody is actually in one or two camps. Like, that's weird. I think that's not critical thinking. I think that that's very strange now. Most people are kind of in the middle. Like, oh, I think of that about that and that about that. I don't know. I don't really have a name for what I am. I think that's great. And I think that's kind of how most humans and Americans actually are. But the media, which is television telling us a vision, is literally brainwashing us to think that your neighbor is either in this bucket or this bucket. And if they're not in the same bucket as you, well, they're a horrible person. And it's just like,
sweetheart, I have chills
like
on my whole body.
It's the biggest marketing campaign we've ever experienced. And we're falling trapped to it. Right. And so we're seeing it with everything from medical decisions to all this other stuff. And it's been fascinating to see how I've even been navigating it, because it's hard and it's difficult, and we're living in such a weird time. But again, I think there was a lot of shaming around, and this is very unfiltered, but like a beauty blogger, let's say, why isn't she sharing about every single political event going on in the world at all times? That's not her job. And she doesn't need to. Let Katie, the beauty blogger, be the beauty blogger. I think that's completely fine. Who knows what she's doing in her house? I don't go to her house. I don't live with her. We don't know her. So it's like, let people just be them. And I think that was so weird that there's just been this like policing of other people's morals and ethics, and it's just weird. And it's just, again, I just have to laugh at it, because it's actually hilarious when you think about it in the meta. It's like, what is happening?
And it is really good to, like, when it's like the media has done a great job. Television, what you just call television,
telling a vision.
Telling a vision. Oh my God, I've never heard that before. That is
television.
Television. Okay, that is incredible. I'm gonna borrow that.
Creepy.
And let me just go on like a bit of a rant here. Like, they are selling the most beautiful vision of polarization and not liking your neighbor, like you're saying, and instilling such deep fear, and being able to literally program what we do next. And have all of us always been programmed to a certain degree? Yeah, we have. Like, we have so much stuff coming to us at every single time. But what we are in right now is like starting this like zombie way of being. And I believe that anyone that is listening to this podcast, or anyone that follows me or follows Angie, it does not matter whether you vote red or blue, whether you've been vaccinated or not vaccinated, whether you send your kid to public school or homeschool. The decisions that you're making in your life do not matter. I believe that there is some part of you that is going, wait. I want to really start thinking for myself here and looking at what works for me, regardless of what the end result is. And just to riff on something else that you said, it's like this sense of belonging being one of our most core values. When you really get that, guys, and understand that, and like, then you can start looking at how you're behaving in certain social situations, you walk into someone's house, you even getting dressed in the morning, like, how are you getting dressed? Is it because you're thinking about belonging in the XYZ situation? I truly believe that all of us are just waiting, and secretly, probably unconsciously, wanting so badly for just someone to break out of that box and to go,
Mm.
I'll be weird as the Angie's, you know,
Yeah.
as you're languaging, I'll be weird, I'll be a leader, I'll be different. I'm gonna like, I recently have been like, I'm choosing joy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm choosing joy. Brene Brown says joy is like the most vulnerable feeling we can feel. And it is. It's like, why not me to actually experience so much goodness and abundance in my life? And that's a risk because a lot of people are just stuck in the like, I'm going to complain, I'm tired, and I'm this and I'm that. Anyways, we could like talk, but it's so important what you're saying. And then building a business on top of any of those layers is like the next step.
Yep.
So it
Yep.
really requires us to start shedding some of those layers of being liked and being like everybody else.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's almost like because to me, weird, and this is will be my second book, or I'll write it first. I don't know. This is the dance I'm in, but owning your weird to me doesn't necessarily mean being silly, or you don't have to be weird how I'm weird. Weird just means different. It just means you're paving your own path. It means maybe you're a college dropout, corporate dropout. Means you're starting the side hustle. It means maybe you think differently than a lot of other people do, and you're nervous to share that. Like, that's just being weird, right? And so for me, it's interesting that I've always valued that. Like ever since I was little, like that is my biggest value, is just being different and authentic. Yet when it came to that, I was afraid to be different and authentic. So the irony is I got slapped back in the face with like, you say this is what you believe in, yet you're afraid to be different right now. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't make you wrong just because the media is making you seem like you're wrong, or whoever's making you feel like you are wrong. And so I think that's interesting. And then the other thing I'm exploring is conformity. The worst part about conformity is that everybody likes you but you. And that's one of my favorite quotes, is like, I could put on a mask and a dance, and mask, no pun intended, but that's a
Right.
weird word now. But but I could pretend to be this person to make everyone else happy. But then at night, who do I still need to make sure is happy? And that's myself. Like, I got to go to bed with myself. And so that's, I'm really exploring now. And I'm sure this gets hopefully easier as you get older. I feel like now at 31, it's even easier than it was in my 20s. I'm starting to feel a little bit more like it's okay to be disliked a little bit. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to experience it in motherhood. It's just going to keep happening as my
Yeah.
brand grows. So who am I to think I'm immune to it?
Yeah.
So yeah, conformity is interesting. It's like we all say we want to be different, but yeah, we all really are just trying to fit in. And then it's so interesting. And with the business too, right? It's like, I find that the most refreshing accounts or leaders or entrepreneurs or brands that I follow are the ones that are like a little bit different. Like, they aren't doing it the way you should. And that's what makes them stand out. And that's what helps them to ultimately grow, and it stops the scroll. So again, if you want to actually build a business, the greatest thing you could do is not make your feed look like everybody else's feed right now, because
And if
that stops
anyone's
the
sitting
scroll.
here if anyone's listening to this, to Angie, and going, well, how do I do that? The how is called be yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
be yourself.
Yeah.
So Angie has an incredible business that helps you calm down some of this anxiety and nervousness. My
Yeah.
husband and I, Kenny and I, we are big fans of your CBD sleep. We use that every night.
Yeah.
And so just share with us, you and I have never connected offline about your company. And so I just want to kind of like, it's just share about it. And it's an incredible brand. And I get the emails and I'm like, oh, you're so clever. You're so good at this.
Oh, yay. Well, it's not me writing them, but yeah.
I'm sure, I know it's not, but
Yeah.
you've done a beautiful job of building such a successful
Oh,
business. Yeah.
that means so much. Yeah. I'm just a creative somewhat. I give input on creative, product development, naming, some copy, and I'm like big picture creative co-founder. And then my brother's CEO, and then we have a whole team. But it's interesting because it started in LA, just in my kitchen, and it was a small idea. And we were doing all of the labeling and the shipping, and literally Mike was going to the post office to drop off packages every day. And
And what was
man,
the
that's crazy.
catalyst for even starting it? How many years ago?
Well, gosh, has it been 3.5 now? 3.5 years, almost 4 is kind of like when we initially started it, because my brother was an athlete and he was in a lot of pain. So he was using CBD for pain.
Okay.
And then I was using it for anxiety. And he was like, hey, Ange, we should make this a business. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's so weird. What are you talking about? I have no experience in cannabis. You don't either. He's like, but we got this. I'm like, all right, let's go. And at the time I was doing coaching, and I kind of had this feeling of, I want a physical product. I love physical products. Now they're more difficult. There's a larger overhead. coaching and digital stuff is definitely a smarter route, I think, in the beginning, especially if the goal is like simplicity, income. But I love physical products. I love the wellness space. So I was like, you know what? I want a wellness brand. Let's do this. So we put $60,000 in, had no idea if we'd ever see it again, what would happen. That actually wasn't a ton to think of, like most companies when you start up. So we got the website and got all of it up, and got a mentor, found the farms. I mean, it took like a whole year or two just to get the process down. And now over the last year, it's been insane to see that it blew up, and we'll be an 8-figure brand soon. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It just kind of like started slow. It started slow, and then all of a sudden it's like spider webs. And then you just kind of like, it just kept growing, and it works, and it's great. And people just started sharing. And yeah, I mean, we're coming out with, we have a sleep line. We're coming out with a period cramp line. My biggest passion is our ADD focus line. So our alert caps, we've got bath bombs, dog stuff. I mean, we've got it all. So yeah, Mike and I are kind of on this goal of like, okay, what does this look like to grow this and then sell it and then figure out the next thing? Or I don't know. We're just kind of figuring out as we go. We don't have all the answers.
I'm so impressed by you. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, that's that's so incredible. And so at this stage, are you in it every single day, or what is?
It depends. Like, I would say like today I was a bit, probably twice a week I'm either on calls to clean up copy, because I love copywriting. So I'm helping with copy. I name all the products. I look over all the designs, so anything creative, I'm looking over and making sure that I approve of it. Creative, new product development, collabs. Like, we have a new collab with Chalene Johnson that just came out called Sleepy. So named that, colored that, branded that, her and I, we all went in on that. What does that look like? So I do all creative, and then our team does all of the rest. So I'm not really on a lot of those calls because I'm not doing shipping and customer service and all that crap. But in the beginning, I mean, yeah, Mike and I were shipping it out ourselves, but I quickly told him like, hey, my superpower is creative and marketing. It's definitely not anything else when it comes to integration or structure. So we're going to need to hire that. And he was like, okay. I think he thought I could be more of the CEO. And it is cute when people DM me because they think I'm the CEO. They're like, oh, good job. I'm like, I don't actually run this business, but thanks.
I mean, that's
they think I'm smarter than I am. It's nice.
That's the way you actually get to 7-figure, multiple figure, 7-figure, 8-figure businesses, right? Is like, stay in your zone of genius and let other people do what they're good at. For people that are into CBD, or if they want to try CBD, I always want to buy from people that I know and support their companies, right? So Angie was like one of the first people that I went to in trying out CBD. What's a good place? For anyone who's familiar with it, you can go on the website. It's soulcbd.com and just take a look and try the products. But for someone that's like, wanting to dip their toe in, where's a good place for them to start in the product line?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would say for sure our gummies. People love our gummies. That is our number one seller. They're very delicious. It's very hard to make a delicious gummy that actually works and doesn't taste like crap, or you can't taste the CBD. So our gummies are beyond delicious. They're very addictive. They're so good. So I would start with gummies and then tinctures, or I'm really into our caps right now. So my stack, as I call it, is the alert cap in the morning for the days where I need a lot of focus. I do gummies if I need stress release or just to get rid of anxiety before a speech or before bed, things like that. And then our chill caps, I love before bed. I'll do sleepy here and there if I really need like an intense good night's sleep, but I'm more of a chill cap girl. I think it's one of our underrated products, but it just zens you out. It has kava in it. It's just like a beautiful blend to just zen you out. And what I love about CBD is, I mean, so many things, but I'm obviously a very big proponent of holistic health. And what I love about CBD is there's no toxicity level. So you can't really say that about a lot of things. You could go down to CVS right now down the street, take a bottle of aspirin, take the whole thing, and you would probably die. I mean, let's be honest, there is a toxicity level to it. But CBD, you could technically eat our entire jar of gummies, and while you might have a stomach ache from maybe some of the gelatin and a little bit of sugar, you wouldn't die. So I love that. I think it's a plant that God gave us, and it's beautiful and it's awesome and it's healing. And receiving DMs from people that are like, hey, my son now can focus and doesn't have social anxiety, or my grandpa's joints feel better. Like it makes me emotional because it's like, wow, it's crazy. Well, we know why, because follow the money, but we know why it's kind of banned a little bit in some places, but it's crazy that this plant that's so healthy and so safe for you is not used even more for all of these things. Yet people, there's still taboo around it because, well, the government rather have you use aspirin. So
Yeah, and you don't have any
That's a different podcast for a different day.
Will you just explain to anyone that's kind of more in the novice, will you explain the difference between THC and CBD and why CBD is, I mean, I'm a fan of little bits of gummies that have THC as well, but just explain the difference. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who like blends to help them sleep, or honestly, for people who are in extreme pain, they've shown that that's really helpful. I mean, that's why a lot of athletes are doing it, not just to get high, quote unquote, but they're needing the THC for the synergistic effect. When those two marry together, it's a really nice blend for pain management. So CBD is the non-hallucinogenic effect. So it's this beautiful plant. It has a bunch of different strains to it. CBD is the non-hallucinogenic side, and then THC is the part where you can hallucinate, get high. You guys know
high. Yeah.
So people a lot of times will say, oh, is this weed? No, weed is THC. We've completely stripped out all of the THC. We are completely pure isolate, which essentially means there's absolutely none of it in there. There's some brands that may have a little bit. We are zero, just because our intention in the beginning, which it might change. Mike now wants to maybe tap into THC, but we had a lot of nurses buying this and people who are tested, who had to 100% make sure they would pass a drug test. So yeah, there's people who will say like, will I get high? And I'm like, I 100% guarantee you will not get high unless it's a placebo effect and you think you're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you will get high. I promise you. I'm like, I'll show you me eating 80 gummies. You will not get high. So,
and you don't have, like, you don't do caffeine, you don't do alcohol or very little, right? And so like you really use CBD throughout the day for like different things. And like, yeah. And I mean, I want to do like another podcast with you that's all on sleep, because
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I just released an episode on it, my part 1. I got to go record the part 2 now, but it's literally like every single sleep hack you could ever think of, because I'm obsessed with sleep, and I feel like I've biohacked my sleep game to a point that's just crazy. So I
have a lot of mama bears that listen to my podcast. They're all like ding, 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 ding. So everyone go listen to Angie's most recent podcast. I just saw that you put that out, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to listen to that on the airplane right now.
So good. I feel like, I mean, this is where the term baby grandma came from, but I'm such an evangelist for sleep. I'm like, everybody, if we had better sleep, we'd be nicer people. We'd have more focus. We would just be able to be better people in this world. I think a lot of people are walking around sleep deprived, and they're claiming that it's anxiety or it's ADHD, when it could be, but to be honest, a lot of it's just shitty sleep. And so we don't feel good the next day, you know?
So Angie, last question to close us up here. You're going to laugh at this one, which I love, which I'm so happy about. What does drop into the vortex mean to you?
Ooh, okay. What is dropping into the vortex?
That's the name of the podcast. Yeah.
I know. I love that. I'm like trying to think what it means to me. Ooh, I feel like it's to me, it's the theta state when I'm doing, because I do breath work. I have a breath work teacher who comes over, and whenever I'm in that state, it's like the most blissful, beautiful state ever. I pray and hope it's the state we go when we die. That was a deep thought, but it's like you have no worries, you have no pain, you have no stress. It's that feeling right before you go to sleep, and it's just so beautiful. And that's when I feel the most connected and creative. And to me, I think that's the vortex. It's like our purest self who is connected to source. And it's like just the most beautiful, blissful state. I'm sure it's the state you were in when you were at Joe Dispenza. You were in the vortex.
One long vortex for 5 days.
I think that's what I think it is. I don't know. I've never tried to put words to it, to be honest. So I'm like, I don't know how I'd explain it.
I think it was a great answer. Right? I think it was a great answer. The breath work, the theta state.
Yeah.
It is. It's the ultimate present moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. It's presence. That's what it is. Oh shit. That's it. I'm like, that's it. That's
Girlfriend, I love you. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was so fun, and I truly would like to do more.
Yes, you're amazing, Heidi. This was so fun. Anytime, I'll come on. This was so good.